Another night was passing. I was having a good sleep. Feeling a little upset about how fancy my bedroom had become. But I was gonna have to get over that. Things were alright. My rice was growing. Animals doing well. A little too well in my opinion. And I woke up, built my cook stove. Also decided I was gonna need a butcher table. There was a bunch of dead animals laying around. And I'd have to deal with them, get them butchered up, see how much pemmican I could make here. I was just gonna make as much as possible, regardless of how much time it was gonna take. And the butcher table was done. I was gonna set my mind getting some butchering done. There was a lot to do, so I started right away with the butchering animals. I had some sitting outside. I didn't want them to go bad. Did a little butchering. Had myself a coffee. Got to the business of cooking. It's gonna be a slow process at this rate. Decided I'd better butcher up all the animals first. Fortunately, that sweet hauler robot was taking care of stuff for me. I butchered for a while, decided to toss some horseshoes. Felt like some fun was in order. There's critters everywhere, man. I don't know how I'm gonna keep up with them all. Surprised they're not feral yet. So I was back to cooking. Stopped to have a meal once in a while. Decided I was gonna set up some supplies. See if I could make this happen faster. Which I believe I can do. So I set up a couple spots. Get some meat near me. Get some vegetables near me. One of the muffalo gave birth about that time. Yet another mouth to feed. More babies running around is just what I need. And I set to cooking. And that's what I focused on for quite a while. Occasionally my rice would come due. I'd have to run on out, get a bunch of that harvested. It's going to be my last crop on the far side. I was going to plant some stuff closer to home, see if I could pull another crop before winter hits. Shouldn't be too big of an issue. Hamlet was helping out with the hauling, which was great. And my hauler robot was busy as well. Certainly can't complain about that. I hauled a bunch back. Got back to the business of cooking. Robot's doing a nice job keeping my place clean. And I was making good progress on the cooking. The robot would bring me supplies, and I'd cook them up. And eventually I got tired, decided to get off to bed. Gonna start making bigger batches of pemmican as well. That'd speed things up a bit, I hoped. So when I woke up, some cooking was in order. I got a visitor before too long. Someone named Penny. It was nice to have someone around. She didn't want to join me, just wanted to hang out for a bit. See about chatting me up eventually. I mined for a bit, and I had myself a beer. After that, I had to deal with some more rice. Such a long walk. It's frustrating, but it was what it was. At least the crops are coming in good, so I couldn't complain about that. I finished one whole section, started working on the next. Made myself a note not to do any more planting. After I plucked rice for a while, decided to haul some of it. While running back, seemed like a good idea. Do a little bit of mining. Sure I was going to need the steel at some point, even though I had a decent stockpile of it. My animals are just mad, running around. Fortunately none of them had hit a trap yet. When I got back home I had myself a tea, followed by a little pemmican, and then I farted around with the chess table, working out some strategies should I ever get an opponent. Penny was walking around. She was carrying her pistol, I decided maybe I wouldn't get involved. Don't need to get shot, since I don't like wearing armor so much. I decided to do some hunting next. There's a couple goats nearby. I could take them down. Get my robot or my dog to haul them in for me. Get back to the business of cooking at some point here. So, I got the goats brought down, and I ran on back, went to bed. Been a long day. While sleeping, whole pack of deer went nuts on me. The herd was chasing in here, trying to get a hold of me. Fortunately, deer don't stand up well at the traps. They're too dumb to avoid them. I was shooting at them, just in case. They took out all my traps, but they all went down. Can't complain too much. That's going to solve my meat problem for a while, that's for sure. After that, I was hungry. My hauler robot started picking up the deer, putting them away. I decided I'd slaughter my pigs at that point too. Might as well gather as much meat as possible. That'll keep me focused. Getting this cooking done. Plus, get rid of a few mouths to feed. These muffalo were constantly needing milking, but I was having a hard time keeping up with it. I decided to focus on the butchering. See if I could get some of these animals butchered up. While doing that, the manhunter pack showed up. Bunch of crazy deer. They must have been in nuclear fallout or something, man. Something certainly didn't look right about them. I decided I was going to close my door. See if I could just ignore them. I was going to have to keep all my animals in as well. Don't need those jerks opening up my door. Letting a bunch of mad animals in here. They're not the ones that are going to have to deal with them. So, set up some space. Keep all these critters inside. I had so darn many of them. They're probably going to be short on food, but I'd have to figure something out for that. Which wouldn't be too big of a deal. I had plenty of rice. So I held the door open while all the animals ran on in. Then I decided to go take a peek. These crazy deer, I don't know what was wrong with them. What was wrong with deer in general over here, but they sure were having a hard time hating on me. I decided I was just going to stay inside, focus on cooking, and ignore all those deer. Seemed like the best play. I had plenty of dead animals laying about with the pigs and the goat and the other deer. Then I got to the business of cooking after a little bit of butchering. Should be able to make a whole mountain of pemmican out of this. Provided some rice for my critters, which they immediately ate. Those things don't play around, man. Fortunately, my hauler robot, best companion I've had, except for Hamlet, that's for sure. Makes life a lot more livable. I cooked away. Those deer ran around out there, making crazy noises. Looking all Toxic Avenger. But maybe someone will show up and have to deal with them. I'll get a little more meat. Although I don't know about eating blue deer. After cooking for quite a while, it was time for bed. Being 11 o'clock and all. While sleeping, transport pod crashed. One of them pirates came down. I wasn't about to go out there and try and save her though. Not with the crazy deer. If she's smart, she won't get up. Unless those crazy deer come after her. And when I woke up, it was back to the business. Butchering some critters. I had some in the freezer now, so that was good. I could focus on the ones that were outside. I was going to see if I could get my hauler robot to put some of them over by my butcher table. Maybe Hamlet would help out. I hadn't seen Hamlet haul anything in a while, though. He might be giving up on it. I was going to have to work with him a bit on that. So I butchered, and I ate, and I had myself a beer, and then it was back to the business of cooking. Never ends around here, I tell you. But it keeps a guy busy. Yeah, I don't mind the work, that's for sure. Pick everything up. This hauler robot around sure saves a guy a lot of trouble. They're a real godsend. I kept focusing on cooking. What else are you gonna do? Eventually, had myself some food. I was off to bed. Made some great progress. There was still some of them crazy mad deer out there, just waiting for me to make a misstep. And I was just gonna keep on ignoring them, keep on focusing on getting my stuff done. When I woke up, it was 4 a.m. Nothing like a beer at 4 a.m. Solar flare started, but I wasn't too concerned with that. About that time, I noticed that the mad deer chilled out a bit, so it'd be safe to go outside again. I was going to do some planting nearby. I decided first I'd harvest all the rice I had ready to go. With the animals eating the rice, wouldn't hurt to have some extra. So, I focused on that for quite a while, having a meal occasionally. It was raining on me, which kind of sucked. I worked on it pretty much all day. Just want to lay this to bed. While I was doing that, one of the alpaca had another baby. I decided to let all the animals free range. I'm sure they were hungry by then. I kept plucking rice, the hauler robot kept hauling it. And eventually, I got it all done. Hauled as much of it as I could. Even Hamlet was helping out carrying that stuff back. So that was fantastic. I had some meat that was about to spoil. So, when I got back, I put the rice away. Decided to cook it up before it went bad. Don't want to have that. The animals were all over the place, walking around inside my house, stealing Hamlet's bed. I was going to have to do something about that as well. So I had plenty of rice once again. Had myself a little food. Slept next to a stinky old alpaca. And at some point while I was sleeping, just before I woke up, a happy feeling settled over me. A grizzly bear was hunting one of my alpaca about that point. I debated on just letting it happen. Maybe I could kill that grizzly also. Seemed like it's best not to get involved though. So I called the alpaca inside, and the grizzly bear had to figure something else out. Not too big of a deal. I was tossing some horseshoes about that time, feeling a little sheepish. Thinking about why my animals are running around inside my house. So I fixed that issue. Doesn't take much, just yell at them. They tend to listen alright. Once the horseshoes are done, I had myself a beer. Decided to get to the business. Plant some rice nearby. There's a bunch of trees that have to come down. In the end, I decided maybe I'd better bring the other rice over first. Get it stored properly so it doesn't go bad. I got rid of my grow zones. Walked away from that area. Not gonna call that mine anymore. Maybe it'll distract some idiots who come try to kill me. I was putting rice away. The clip started. But I just kept right on working. There was rice to plant. Did that for a while. Had myself a little food. I was making pretty good progress. Chopping down trees along the way, getting some wood. Decided I was going to make some benches and a research table. I was going to figure out how to leverage geothermal. I was going to need it. It's back to the business. Planting a little bit of rice. Stopping to have a meal periodically. I was getting close to done with the planting. Wasn't terribly long. Fortunately, I'd nabbed a bunch of wood in the process. And when I finished with that, I milked the muffalo, hauled what wood I could. All these animals needed some attention. They had wool and milk. I needed a beer, something fierce. I was drinking through my beer supply pretty quick. A poison ship fell nearby, crashed down pretty hard, Scared all the critters, that was for sure. For the minute, I was just going to do my best to avoid it. There was beer that needed drinking, and I'm just the guy for the job. When that was empty, sheared an alpaca, had a little food, started working with the rest of the animals. I could spend my whole day just shearing animals, probably. I was running out of storage space for everything, which is unfortunate. I was going to have to figure something out for that as well. In the interest of doing something fast, I was going to build a wooden storage shed nearby. It's going to be more work, but the hauler robot should get the supplies over there for me. I just have to chop down the trees and deal with all that. And if it got terribly cold out, I could put the animals in there and be a nice little barn area for them. So I built some backup storage plans. Sheared one more muffalo and I was off to bed. And the next day, had myself some pemmican. Time to get to the business of chopping down all the trees that were around. Dealing with the animals as well. Training and shearing. Hamlet was loving the rice, so that was good. So many critters, so little time, I tell you. But at some point, I'd do some traveling, so I'd need them. I was planning on bringing steel and wood, any other real supplies I could bring. These guys would be handy for that. Probably all get slaughtered in the end. I'd need the food, so Hamlet needed some training as well. I'm always happy to work with him. He's such a sharp guy. I left some deer laying around in my bedroom, waiting for butchering. I'd started smelling something funky in there, so it seemed like one of them had rotted away, which was well unfortunate. I worked with animals, had some pemmican, decided I was going to have to get that rotten deer out of there. The other ones were about to spoil as well, so I butchered them up real quick. Had to find a good spot to put that rotten deer. And I also had to not allow rotten stuff lay around in my bedroom. That's a poor play. So I did the butchering, and it was back to working with the critters. I was going to have to deal with that poison ship at some point. Nothing obvious came to mind, so for now I was trying to ignore it. My hauler robot put the rotten deer in my freezer. A rotten goat is what it actually was. But I gave him the nod. He took care of that for me. And then I decided to cook up all that meat. Don't want it going bad. Plenty of supplies. So I cooked for the rest of the day. That ship was making spooky noises. Looked like it might be starting to snow over by it. Hopefully it ain't winter yet, man. I was hoping for more rice before it came upon me. When I woke up, a little garden tea was in order. And I decided to build my storage shed, lest all my stuff go bad, which it already was. I had stored a bunch of pemmican in there as well. That was going to be, hopefully, what kept me alive when I got to that spaceship finally. I didn't want to have to make food over there. If I could get enough here, I wouldn't have to worry about it later. I did a ton of construction, traps, research bench, had myself a beer. Back to building traps. If I was going to wake that ship up, see what came out of there, dirty old robots, I was certainly going to need some traps. So I built some traps. That didn't take too long. Repaired my walls, which were shot up a bit. Had to work with Hamlet. But, smartest dog on the planet, I tell you. And nearby, huge cat killed an alpaca. That means more meat for me. So I was having a beer while the hauler robot was working on that. And then I milked Muffalo, tried to train Muffalo. And I was really going to need somebody else to help out with these critters. I didn't suspect it was going to happen though. I had so many baby animals, so many adult animals. So many muffalo to milk. So many alpaca to train. There's a dead goat. I felt bad for shooting it, letting it go to waste. That's the downside of being a super busy guy. Things don't take care of themselves, unless you got these robots. And about that time, a bunch of people that didn't like me showed up, dropping in from the sky, which is unfortunate. Some to the south, some to the north. I didn't immediately see where the north guys were coming down. I thought about wearing my armor. Then I decided maybe I'd run on over and pop that ship. Maybe something come out of there, take care of these raiders for me. So I grabbed my rifle. Turns out some of those people came down right by the ship, and they were going to mill about for a little while. So I got their number. I popped that ship. 4 robots came out and started shooting at me. I was hightailing it inside of those jerks that were over there. Had to deal with them robots, and they didn't last long. Them robots are some mean buggers. So they got taken care of. One of those robots was giving chase. Didn't catch me though. Looked like a few of them had gotten killed. The robots barely took any punishment, which is well unfortunate. I was hoping at least one of them get killed. So I was hanging out, trying to figure out what to do next. There was a whole bunch of people milling about trying to figure out how to attack me. I don't think they knew about my traps. At that point, I started putting my armor on. Decided, meh, probably don't need that. Pretty sure if they come for me, my traps will take care of them. I was just going to stay inside, keep my critters inside, and see what happened. So they decided to come attack. I was just sleeping, not terribly worried about anything. Sadly, that big cat didn't attack them. And sure enough, they showed up, started stepping on my traps. My poor hauler robot opened the door though. Got himself attacked. I could hear some kind of battling happen. They were cracking him up pretty good. I tried to whistle to him, get him to come on inside, hang out in a spot where he was safe. He's getting pretty busted up already. Looked like they'd somehow managed to stun a robot, which is terribly unfortunate. So I whistled, despite all the grogginess and the sleep that was upon me. It didn't take long. I grabbed my gun, ran on out there. But in the end, they destroyed my poor robot, started shooting at my muffalo. I started having a gunfight with one of them. And eventually, enough of them died on my traps, they decided to get on out of here. I was right mad. Having lost that whole robot. Now I was going to have to do a lot more work myself, and that was most unfortunate. So I ran out with my gun. Shot one of them up reasonably well. Caught her in the pelvis, torso. Kept right on shooting. Caught her in the neck the next time. Take that, you jerk. Sadly, she might live to tell other people about it. So, with a heavy heart, mostly upset because of the fact I was going to have to do all my hauling myself that Hamlet wouldn't do, I tossed horseshoes. Thought about my miserable luck. Bunch of dead bodies laying around. At least they had left me some weapons. But there was still that ship I was going to have to deal with. So I was going to have to get to the business of making these traps again. Set up a little spot in the water to dump these corpses. The fishes eat them up real quick. They don't last too long and I don't have to look at them. I decided to let the animals free range. They were probably hungry. I'd stop putting rice out for them since there was plenty of stuff outside. Decided I'd set up a comms console as well. Little orbital trade beacon. See if I could get some traders to come visit me. Another one of those hauling robots would be pretty sweet. Maybe I'd get 2 of them this time. Save me all kinds of trouble. So I put down some plans for those things. I was running a little bit short on steel, which was unfortunate. I had enough to rebuild my traps at least. I didn't have enough for the comms console though. Gonna have to figure that out. I was also gonna have to run some power so my beacon could be powered. Hopefully that doesn't lure any idiots to come try and attack me. But the way it's been, I wouldn't be surprised. Built as much power conduit as I could, but I didn't quite have enough. Took a quick break, worked with one of my critters. And then I was so hungry I had to eat something. And I was off to bed despite it only being 8 a.m. I decided that was a crappy time for bed. So I took a little bit of wake up. I'm not much of a drug guy. Things were getting out of hand here. I was going to have to keep up with it all. Those robots are still milling around. Their dirty old ship killing every plant in sight. Decided to do some mining because comms console, traps, power conduit. While doing that, some ship chunks fell out of the sky. There were fires blazing away as well. My old farm area was burning down. Good thing I'd moved all my crops, or else I'd be over there trying to deal with that nonsense. I mined a bunch of steel. Came up a tiny bit short, but there was enough laying around that I could go nab the rest of it. Carried in everything I could. There was an alpaca that needed butchering as well. I got the comms console built. I was going to have to figure out something for additional power before too long here. Things are running a little short. Without that hauler robot, I was already feeling the pressure. Things are laying around where they shouldn't. I had to work with a baby muffalo after that. The little ones are so cute. Next, I decided I better get these bodies moved. The sight and the smell of them starting to make me real crabby. It's going to mean tromping through some water. But better than having a bunch of dead guys laying around. While working on that, my power conduit exploded. Burnt up my table pretty good. Not too bad though. That's why you build out of stone and steel. Stupid wooden tables. Grabbed all the stuff. The remnants, my hauler robot, weapons those people had left that tried to kill me. Worked with an alpaca. And then it was the right time for bed finally. So I went off and laid down. There was lightning striking all around, but it was raining, so I ignored it. Somebody contacted me about an item stash, but it wasn't anything I was interested in. Next up, I decided I was going to see if I could lure those robots in, now that I had my traps back in place. There was a smelly old dead body over there, mostly just a skeleton really. I set up to see if I could shoot them robots, but they're pretty sly. They saw me first. I didn't want to get shot. I wasn't wearing my armor, so I was taking it real cautious. Didn't like standing next to a dead person. That's where I was in the world. I was hanging out, just waiting for a good opportunity. And eventually it presented itself. I gave one of them the business pretty good with the rifle, and then I took off running, fast as I could. Fortunately, terrain was such that the ones with guns couldn't see me. I stopped at one point, do some shooting, see if I could keep luring them jerks in, and then I took off running again. Sadly, one of the ones with guns was drawing a bead on me. These things have quite a range. I was running, quick as my legs would carry me. They were shooting. And fortunately, they didn't hit me. I ran right through my rice patch. They were taking shots at me. I stopped, shot one of them up. Ran on inside, dodging bullets the whole way. Wasn't sure if they'd keep pursuing. Might have to turn around and chase them, but it looked like I was going to be in luck. And the first one came in, died on my traps. Same for the second one. One of the ones with guns got in my hallway. Decided I better hide. I just left one after the third one died on the traps. He was hanging out being sneaky, but eventually fell victim to my traps as well. I was having some fire issues. I was going to have to rebuild a bunch of traps. I had Muffalo eating my pemmican, which is good info. I was going to have to block those guys from in there. Turns out Muffalo loved pemmican. There was a fire nearby and I was worried about my rice despite the rain. So I put most of it out. Came on inside and had myself some food. There was so much to do. I couldn't wait for a trader here. Hauler robot was going to be a godsend. Decided I'd better get on over there and destroy that ship before everything around me dies. Snowing. 42 degrees, man. I don't like to see that. I got the rifle out, just started blasting it to bits. And seemed to be going just fine. Didn't take terribly long before I had that thing destroyed. Of course, it left me some goodies. I was gonna have to get those hauled in. I nabbed what I could. Those morons that had died nearby left some weapons. So I grabbed what I could of those as well. Turns out, trying to carry both of them was a little too much. Maybe Hamlet will bring it in. Maybe it'll go to waste. But either way, turns out these Muffalo eat a fair amount. Pemmican. So my ass was feeling pretty chapped at that point. I had to have myself a beer. And there was traps that needed building. Don't ever get lazy on that. I was gonna have to do some mining too. I was ever gonna get all these traps rebuilt. But fortunately that ship I destroyed left some steel, so I ran on over to nab that. There was also plasteel, which would be useful. I was able to carry everything but the gun back, which is weird given its small size. But whatever, it wasn't a very good gun anyway, so I wasn't too concerned. Carried back to steel, components, plasteel. Grabbed myself some food. Decided to run some power conduit down to my backup storage. Wouldn't be a bad idea to have that ready, in case I need to put my orbital beacon down there. And I was off to bed. Another couple days had passed and they'd been eventful. It was going to be a lot of work till I could get another hauler robot here. Hopefully that would happen sooner rather than later. Despite all the dead people laying around, things were peaceful, and the animals should eat them up before too long. Rice was coming due. Felt like life was alright. Half my old farm had burnt down, but that wasn't my problem anymore. I slept well that night. Looking forward to another day.